Hey, everybody. How's it going? How's it going? Gerald Bear the Dreamer here. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Hanging with the Dreamer. Welcome to Dreamland Studios. So, it's a beautiful day outside. It's a beautiful Tuesday. It looks like it's going to start raining. And I have a few announcements. Well, first of all, welcome to all of my new viewers that are new to the show. Please give this please give this a thumbs up. And I have a couple new announcements real quick. First of all, I'm very excited to announce that I have a partnership with Curtain Call Promotions and with El Puerto Records. And I am very, very, very happy to announce that I have some big shows coming up. My guests today are here. Everybody in the chat all over the world, give a great big hello to Sonic Octane. Here we go. It's showtime. Hey, how are you, Robert?
Doing well, doing well. What's up, man?
Hey, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Can you hear my audio okay?
Yes, now I can. I heard a little jitter earlier, but it's good now, man.
Cool. So let's jump right into this. Where what is the history, Robert, of Sonic Octane?
Well, I think we started as a brand and we spent a great deal of time and effort doing filming at raceways and filming in the city of Longmont, where we're based out of. And then over time, we were very fortunate to have some super talented people bench to staff the band. So we've got some guys that are super seasoned that are all based out of Colorado, except our bassist who's out of Oregon. And so that's kind of how it started. It was a brand and then it became a band.
Wow, that's amazing. It never ceases to amaze me, Robert, that when people meet and people share how they're feeling, whether they're playing, writing lyrics, how the whole thing just kind of just comes together. It's magic. That's the beauty about music, is that it's magic, and it's energy. It's fire, and it just. I still get, like, today. I was listening to this morning. I was listening to Udo Dirkencher, and who was the original singer for Accept and German metal band, and I just maybe I just got chills up my spine, and yeah, I'm just like, I'm so glad I'm involved with music. It's a miracle drug. It's an absolute electrifying miracle drug. You know.
No doubt about it.
So do you now? What exactly is your part in the band?
I think a lot of times I'm not in the band. I do a lot of other stuff. I just play a little guitar. I like writing hooks. I love like sound that's just kind of rich, and I try my best to resource to have a broad array of sound. But I'm just a part of it all. Really, our lead is Tim Dolan. He's our vocalist. He's amazing. It's like everything he touches is absolutely amazing. He's super talented. And I jest or joke around, but I don't really in the same when I say like his pinky has the most talent of like anything I've ever been around. Like he can play bass. He plays drum a little. He
That's
sings
awesome.
marvelously. He plays guitar. He writes. Like you could not have a more strong lead for a band. Our bassist, Pete Kinney, has got one of the most amazing voices. He could sing on his own. and he plays bass guitar, and he's the
Mhm.
life and spirit of the band. I feel many times when we meet, and so it's really right now a three-piece, and we're backfilling our drummer. We had a drummer that was super talented and a great guy on a personal level, but just didn't always make it to rehearsal. So we're kind of looking for someone a little more steady there to pitch in.
Well, as a guitar, right? No, I hear you. I understand. Um, Believe me. As a guitarist, I'm a guitar. I play, and I'm a big gear geek. I don't have a lot, but what I do have, I'm like really, really into. What do you use?
It depends. Like for live, I tend to use a custom Paul Reed Smith, and that's a
Hmm.
custom 25th anniversary. It's got a little bit of a distinct coloring to it. It's one of the leads that works in the Stevensville, Maryland factory. His name was Larry. So when he used to get angry, his color on his cheeks used to turn apparently really bright red. So it's kind of a dark reddish angry Larry color, they call it. And
Oh,
yeah,
okay. So go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah, no
I
worries.
just you were saying the angry Larry color. I've seen that. I've
Yeah, in
seen
fact,
that.
I'll walk you around so you can kind of check it. It's that guitar right there on the wall.
You, look at that. Look at that. That is gorgeous. Yeah, that's the angry Larry color.
Yeah. So that's my main that I love to play live. And then the other one I use, it's a little more versatile, probably a little more modern sound. And I'm just going to shut the light on here. And
Sure.
that's John Petrucci Majesty guitar. It's an Ernie Ball.
Oh, look at that. Look
And,
at that.
and that one's a lot more unique because it's got like an overdrive circuit built in. It's got a coil tap, which it's got two
Mm.
humbuckers to coil tap with, that kind of good stuff. And I've got a few other little guitars, but really those are the ones I use more for studio work. And
Wow. That. Thank you for sharing that.
for
That is.
sure.
That's absolutely beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. The Oh, we have a couple of people here. Pooh Ninja's here. Just dropping by. I have to catch the repost. Hey, thanks for dropping by, Pooh. Sandra's here. All right. What's up, Will Star? Hello to Sonic Octane. Haha. Sandra's the best, man. She's the best. She really is. Thank you so much for being here, Sandra. Thank you so very much. So on the on the subject of amplification, what are you using nowadays?
Well, that seems to continually evolve too. I don't know. I started with let me think, my first amp was a Marshall JCM 2000
Uh-huh.
212, and it just rattled and hummed like,
Mhm.
and it fed back a lot because I was using a Gibson Axis guitar that's got humbuckers that just are really very high output. And then
Mm.
eventually I went on to Hughes and Kettner. So nowadays I'm using a Hughes and Kettner Triamp Mark II, and that's a 3-channel 6 switching unit. It's also got a built-in red box, they call it, which is a DI, basically. And I also use a Royal Atlantic Mesa Boogie. It's an RA100. That's a combo 212. I picked up another Marshall JCM because I really love the ballsy tone that can come out of those amps.
Mhm.
And what else? Let's see. Oh, there we go. I've got a little rack too that I'm hopeful one day our band will scale enough to use regularly. And yeah, it's a rack that's got a VHT Classic EL34,
Oh,
and then it's got a Demeter TGP3 preamp with a separate output that's wired for Marshall, which is a 1U Marshall JMP unit, and some other bells and whistles, basically.
well, the preamp. Isn't that the one that was created for Dean DeLeo of Stone Temple Pilots?
Yeah. You know, I don't know, man. When I first heard Core, I was driving to Michigan. I swear I listened to that song almost the whole drive to Michigan. It was so badass. His tone was like killing me. I'm like, how does a guy make tone come out of a guitar like that?
Yeah.
And it blew me away. And ever since then, I've been really following him, following his music, following his writing a little bit. Because, you know, when you get into people that write music that magical to you, I kind of have a little superstition mojo going on that I don't want to borrow their magic, you know, like. So I'll learn a couple songs, you know, from him just to kind of do the homage thing, but I don't want to ever be a tribute band. I don't think I'm that talented. But yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite guitarists. Him and
Mine
Randy
too.
Rhoads, without a question, you know. So
Well, if you I can pardon me, sorry. Sorry about that. Um they well, you know, you're talking about Randy Rhoads, and yeah, that's a pretty big one. The I really going back to Dean DeLeo. I really I can't quite explain his tone, but it's just monster massive. And it's just, you know, when he puts on a chorus, or maybe a little plate reverb, or I don't know, but it's just phenomenal, just massive. It's that quintessential um 80s rock guitar tone, you know. And he's usually, I've seen like rig rundowns and stuff, and the latest one was like 2016 or 17,
yeah,
and he had two Marshall cabinets.
yep. The 1968 split cabs, dual mic'd with different mics, even. You know what I mean? There's a
It's
whole
crazy.
method behind his madness, and you know, how does a guy figure out to use Marshalls and then split with a Vox? Like, it's just such an odd pairing, but it works for him. And then he's got a Veridrive pedal for the Vox that's going slave direct into the Vox, like right into the input jack. So, you know, I'm a nerd with this stuff. I have to confess.
That's
And
all right.
I'm going to take us a little further into the Dean world, because over time, when I moved to Colorado, I used to kind of go to pawn shops as part of the fun of learning to live in the state and know what's out there. So I picked up a Veridrive pedal.
Oh, look at that. Holy smokes.
This thing is as big and beefy as probably, I don't know, let's say almost like a tank for a pedal.
Oh, look at that.
It's old
Oh,
school.
look at that. That is sharp. Yeah.
And then you've got the wannabe Dean DeLeo rig, and this is
The VHT.
exactly, dude. You know guitar, man. I'm impressed. I love interviewing with you. By the way, you're cool.
Oh, thank you, sir. You, and I'm very grateful you're here.
So that's the VHT Classic, and I have EL34s loaded in. You can have an option to put 6L6s.
Yeah,
But I decided I love EL34s because of the fact they come from that kind of
beautiful.
using Kettner and Mesa Boogie world that tends to use a lot more heavy EL34s for their amplification section. This is a Demeter TGP, and I thought it'd be nice to share because this orange rack unit here is one of a kind in the world. It was made by the top design engineer at Demeter, and it's hand signed by James on the back.
Oh, wow.
And then it's also got this Malibu orange faceplate, which Dean and his family live in Malibu area. So it's got a couple lights on the front too that are rare. Like, it's the only kind that you see anywhere. And I was very fortunate to pick that up. The lead engineer was kind of racing to get some cash together to do some other upgrades on his equipment.
Wow.
So I was able to land grab that while I had a cushy corporate life once upon a time.
What kind of mixer are you using in your home studio there?
I keep it as simple as I can. And back in the day when I was in other bands, I used to use analog mixers for like drum or maybe just a little vocal and guitar. But nowadays, everything is all in line. It's on software. So I tend to use a universal audio for the analog digital interface. It's a universal audio 4 port Apollo 8 unit. And then that feeds through fiber optic cable into a laptop. And I use Studio One, PreSonus Studio One for the software. And from there, you can mix and match a little, just play around with the knobs basically and make sure you've got phantom power on. you know.
Well, we have a few people watching right now, and I'm very grateful for that. Welcome everybody to the show. If you have a question for my awesome guest, please ask it in the chat, and I will make sure that it gets out to my guests. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Let's see. Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, this is beautiful. It's a real nice day. It's a very, very nice day. So, Andy Dion is here.
Oh, cool. Hey, Andy.
Sandra and Mike.
Sandy.
I'm a Marshall Bellboy.
That's
Yeah.
cool, man. Well, all right. We give Andy a little treat that night. He probably knows this amp better than me, right? I just plug it in and play with the knobs, but that's the Marshall GCM 2000 TSL 122.
That is gnarly, man.
3-channel. I bought it at Atomic Music in Beltsville, Maryland. That's one of my old haunts I used to go when I was getting through undergrad. And I know a couple of the owners there. They're good people. And they're small business. They've been there forever. So you want to go in there and buy, So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, Mike Guitars made it. Hey, Andy, how's it going? That's cool. Hey, Mike Guitars. Gotta love that Marshall.
Yeah, I actually do. I plugged it in last night. I'm like, damn.
Sandra, is it just me, or does Sonic Octane look like he could pass for guitar hack?
I always say that's what I am. I'm not a real look, seriously, I'm not a guitarist. And by that, what I mean is I didn't grow up like this playing guitar. I played bass for many, many years. So I think the way I approach guitar, and I recently shared on this with someone, I really like to lock in on the percussion, what it's doing in the music piece. So a lot of times when we perform, I'm actually literally right next to the drummer, like a John Paul Jones would be with John Henry Bonham. Like, you've got to lock in, you've got to feel what you're doing. And so for that reason, I'll start with the root chords, simple basic root chords, and then kind of build, adding harmonics and adding arpeggio. I'm learning still a lot of this kind of like bending stuff. It's like, to me, such a subtle thing to learn, because on bass, it's all about quantum power and it's command of that fretboard and a little bit on scales. But in the guitar world, it's a lot more subtle. It really takes a poetry behind how you approach that instrument. So that subtlety, I'm still learning in.
It's a lifelong journey. It really is. Oh, lifelong journey. My guitars. Oh, so hey, Will. Hey, let's see. Hey, there's Sonic Octane. Mike, how's it going, Mike? Hey, Andy Dion. Definitely, at least related to G.H. Sandra Guitar Hack. Andy Dion. Going good. You, Mike Guitars? See, that's what I love about my chat room. Is that cool, just cool. Is that everybody, we're like a giant family here, And, hey, you're kidding me. All right. Cutter Savage, what's up, everyone? Hey, hey, Cutter, how's it going, bro? Thank you for making it today, man. I know you're busy working on your video. Hi, Sandra. Cutter Savage. Cutter Savage. What's up, Sandra? I thank you, everybody, for being here. Oh, yeah, my dude. My funny. What's good, Cutter? Right on, man. The what I was gonna ask you, the VHT power amp that you have you ever dimed that output section, dimed the front of that power amp?
Dined is in what? Used a relay or something?
No, just plugging your preamp in and diming the power amp, diming the preamp and turning the gain down to about 9 o'clock.
Oh yeah. Like, dude, I did a lot of experimentation because I'd picked up the Demeter, and then afterwards I'd picked up the VH1. So you really had to spend a lot of time just playing with the first two units, and then you start building the stack, right? So I had to spend a great deal of time not only with that, but it also has settings on the back for classic. And so, you down switch for classic or you up switch for the other setting. And it even has some voicing options that are buttons on the back of each channel. So I don't know. I'd guess I may have spent about an hour just figuring out like what sounded good. And I'm not using like DeLeo's classic Marshall cabinets, because when I perform, I sure don't like to wheel 412 cabinets. We did that in our first filming, but that got old really quick. Although it looked cool on stage, I won't lie. It was a lot of fun to play on too. But now I'm using 212s, and so you really had to spend the time to go into those settings and play around. So the 212s I'm using now to pair with that rack unit is basically Hughes and Kettner 212. It's wired to 16 ohms, and then I custom wired a PRS deep cab, which is also a 212, with a different set of speakers that voice a little more on the deep end. So when you get a little more growl out of them. So
that's phenomenal. So big guitar question here. Who are your influences? I know it sounds typical, but we all have them.
I have to credit first my brother. He's amazing to me. He started on a little Alvarez acoustic. We bought at a little record shop in the mall, like Harmony House it was called. And the poor guy is on this really kind of, let's say, not so pristine guitar, learning Boston and learning Rush, the Trees, and learning like Led Zeppelin and like off of Zepp 3 and 4 because there were more acoustic pieces. And that led us down the path of Journey eventually. And then eventually it was, Judas Priest. And then he bought his first electric guitar. It was an even more crappy electric guitar. It was a Vantage. And I think I start there, really, when I think about the journey of guitar. Our father gave us a little bit of an influence on it as well. He had an acoustic Yamaha nylon guitar that you could hardly get the action just to fret anything. It was like this. And he knew like 3 chords, but he loved it. He loved having the guitar around. I think it was almost like emotional support some days, which was cool. So I think from there, then it began, a little bit more on the listening side, I would say, just in general. And for me, I think I don't think I'll ever hear another guitarist that could have possibly been as prolific as Randy Rhoads, because of his impeccable technique. And the man has spent several tens of thousands of hours behind his instrument. And you listen to his mother, Dolores, when she interviews about that journey of him learning and apprenticing behind the magic that he brought to his playing, his sound, his songwriting. I was very blessed to meet with Bob Daisley and Lee Kurzlik in 1991 in London. So they gave me perspective on Randy that I would never have had on my own, certainly. And then,
Wow.
of course, when I got to be older, it was Dean DeLeo all the way. Like, I'm probably the biggest Dean DeLeo, aficionado, I'm sure, in my state. Like, with all it's just not just a gear thing. It's just his tone will live and stand the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you know someone like that had a privilege to record and tour, you're onto something really special, and you want to follow it and you want to learn in it. So
Absolutely. Well, I feel your sentiment with Randy Rhoads. I grew up on the LA scene, on the whole 70s, 80s rap, Quiet Riot, Wasp, the whole Sunset, the whole Sunset Strip thing.
so you've been
And
to the Rainbow like a million times, right?
I've been there a lot in my life.
Dude, that
Yes.
pizza is badass. We got to go there. I'm going to be there in like a couple days if you want to meet up.
No way, really?
Yeah, I'll be there. Let's see. I'm arriving Wednesday night for a friend's birthday party. And then I'm there meeting a producer Thursday. And then I'm going to be heading back towards Vegas on Friday. So let's meet up. I'm going to give you a treat real quick, just because we're on the Randy Rhoads topic.
Oh, sure.
So this is my little tchotchke section of my studio. I don't know if you can see that clearly, but there is a magazine right there.
Oh, look at that.
So that's Randy in Guitar World.
I remember that.
And then I also have a nice little treat right here. This is a signed, framed signature of Lee Kerslick and Bob
Wow.
Daisley.
Holy smokes.
And that was in the time that I met them. Looks like it was July 10th of 1991, incidentally. And that was in a little shop in London called Vintage and Rare Guitars. And Mike Corby of the Babies had set that up for us. And I remember he was so cool. He was like, listen, you don't want to be in this business. It's crazy.
The Babies.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Cool little Zoom thing. It was like the size of, I don't know, my wallet, like right here, right? And he's like, this thing is so cool. It's got all the sound you'll ever need on an aux, like ever. You can take it in the studio. You can take it on the road. It does everything. And we're like, how the hell does this guy, fall out of music and end up in this cool guitar shop that has like hundreds of the best instruments we'd ever seen in a single place, like ever. And then all of a sudden we see a bass guitar on a wall. It's a BC Rich Mockingbird neck through, 24 fret. It's got like the coil tap switchy knobby thing and all this cool shit. And it's like, whose bass that is? And I was with my brother at the time. I'm like, man, I don't know. He's like, that's Ozzy Osbourne's bass guitar's bass. We're like, we're kind of like, no, man, come on. No one's going to tell us that. That's ridiculous. So he pulls out the case. It says Ozzy Osbourne on it. Now we're kind of half believing it. And he goes, Bob's actually in town. If you want to stick around, maybe later tomorrow, I'll have him come over for tea. And he can sit here and talk with you. Maybe you'll pick up that bass. So we ended up buying the bass off of Bob. And of course, his friend Lee Kerslick was in town. So the next thing you know, we're sitting there for hours, literally talking about everything, about the studio where they recorded Ozzy Osbourne's first 2 albums, to what was Randy like as a temperament? Because everyone, I guess, in popular culture, we would certainly believe he was very shy and inward and very humble. And sure enough, true to the word, that's how they saw him in collaborating with him. And they said he was this tiny little body with such tremendous talent. And he would just literally spend time raking and orchestrating and getting ready to takes in studio. And so it was a very fascinating time. And certainly England's got its share of music history. We also did a Led Zeppelin tour for 3 weeks, so I ought to come back sometime and fill you in about going to Led Zeppelin, like Jimmy Page's Boleskine house.
I would love to have you do that. As a matter of fact, it's when the stars line up, And when the spirit of inspiration opens up, the time is right. The time is right. The time is right.
Right.
You brought up Jimmy Page, James Patrick Page.
Yes, Pagey himself.
You brought up Zeppelin, also a very big part of my upbringing. You see that right there?
Yeah.
What is that?
The guitar in the frame, or are you talking? Is that standing up on a stand? Is that what
No,
you're talking?
no, no,
Right
no,
there.
no. I'm talking about that.
Is that a theremin?
It is.
Get the hell out of here!
It is.
Oh my gosh, I'm so dude. We've got to meet now. You know what my goal is? It's like super secret because I'm such a talented hack guitarist. But I actually want to build with a friend in town. I just met with him yesterday. We were recording for fun here because it's like a home studio. It's not like a real one. But at the end of the day, he wants to help me build a custom guitar, and I want a theremin circuit built into it. So that's so cool that you have that, dude. That's badass.
It's when I come into my area, come into my little spot, and the house is empty, and it it just I just kind of close my eyes and just lifting a hand like that.
Dude.
All of a sudden, there's this you go into a trance, and it's it's crazy, man. It's
Dude, I
cool.
bet you don't even let that out of your house. Like you don't even
No, I
move it, do
don't.
you?
No,
Yeah. See? Dude, I was
no,
on Instagram like a week ago. You're gonna freak out. If you go to Sonic Octane's Instagram page and then you go out to LA Guns page with Tracy Guns,
I have that.
you do. All right, so go to Tracy Guns page and he's got a post up there about his theremin. And I'm posting to him going, dude, is that Pagey's? Like that. And he's like, nah, man, I took it off the road a while ago, like that. I'm like, holy shit. Dude, those are the coolest things ever. Like these were artists that really put an experience into their set, their music. It wasn't formula. It wasn't just verse, chorus, and fuck off. That's our song. It was really, look, we're going to create room here to create something more than just what you're used to hearing. And we're going to bring everything we can. I remember seeing a album sleeve of The Who, Live at Leeds. I believe it was the album, Live at Leeds.
Mm.
And on the album sleeve, it said right there, they showed where they're ordering pyrotechnics, to bring that element to their live show. And I just go, these artists were marvelous people that just really brought every single show, it seems, something unique that brought the audience. And I know that our thinking in Sonic Octane formatively is very much aligned with that. Our vocalist, Tim, is very, very creative. He says he brought a Windex bottle one time and filled it with like blue Kool-Aid, I think it was, or Powerade or something. And he's like out there squirting because people are freaking out that like it's going to, poison you or something, and he would drink out of it. So I think we're going to be bringing some hooks into what we do in our live show when that spins up again. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the ideas flow and just watching that'll be a sideshow in and of itself, I'm pretty sure.
That's awesome. Think about the early stages of Zeppelin. Think about, going from Earl's Court to all the way to Madison Square Garden and everywhere in between. Think about, see, you brought up Boleskine. One thing we did not have a chance to talk about is my history. 18th century Scotland. That's my ancestors. Okay. I went to Loch Ness.
Get.
I went to Loch Ness. I have pictures. At that same exact time that I was there, Inverness Castle was blocked off.
Really?
Blocked off. Up on a hill, and there were these purple lights shining up on it. Picture this in your mind. This is the magic of inspiration. Inverness Bridge, like here. The hotel's here, where me and my sister Paula are at. Inverness Pub is on the other side of the bridge. Here I am, walking across Inverness Bridge. I look up, and there's Inverness Castle. And it's black. It's dark, dark black. And this was like 8 o'clock at night. It wasn't that late yet. But in the Highlands at that time, it gets dark.
Yep.
And I saw these purple lights shining up on it. And I didn't know why. I'm just like, what? Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm just like, I'm looking up. And I'm just walking across the bridge. I stop in the middle of the bridge and I look up. I'm like, wow, what's going on here? So keep walking, going to the pub, I'm in the pub like 5 or 6 hours, right?
Good deal.
The place closes down. Me and the owner are talking. He said, Inverness Castle, man, don't go up there. I said, why? He goes, it's blocked off. No one's allowed up there.
Dude, what's up with that?
I said, what? He goes, I can't tell you. Just don't go up there. I said, fine, I won't. He goes, where are you going tomorrow? I said, Loch Ness. He goes, be very careful up there in the Highlands. It's haunted.
Oh, geez.
And I said, really? Cool.
You're crazy. Oh my God. So it didn't even faze you that it was haunted at all.
Mm-mm.
Wow, man, you're brave. I'm the chicken running like Scooby-Doo, man.
Me and my sister, it was raining, man. It was raining. So me and my sister, man, 6 a.m., she knocks on my door. And, of course, I finally made it back to the hotel about 4 in the morning, right? And while I'm walking across Inverness Bridge, I'm looking up on that hill, up at those purple lights the whole step of the way, man.
Jesus.
Yeah, So
you know what? You're describing something that is very common to us, and I'm as a treat. Just totally optional because I know we're in COVID and it's a weird time, but I've got right behind me here an entire map of Paige's Boleskine house. I've been there too, man. I've got that whole story. I've got like Snowdonia National Park, the cottage where Zeppelin recorded Led Zeppelin 3 and wrote. I've got Robert Plant's actual house in Wales. Dude, we got a couple podcasts, I think, is what we got going on here.
Cool. You know what? I would love to have you come back here and hang out a couple more times, as many times as you desire. I'm honored. Thank you.
But please continue with your story. I want to hear about this. So now you're looking back at the castle with the purple lights. You're with your sister Paula.
Yeah. So I made it back to the hotel room, and I just collapsed. As you can imagine, I just dropped. 2 hours later, I hear knock, 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 knock. And I'm like, huh? It's my sister. Hey, you ready to go to Loch Ness? Okay, I'll be there in a minute. Crawling off the bed and got to get to the sink real quick and change my shirt. And I'm like, let's go. So she goes, I told you don't go out drinking the night before. And I said, well, I'm kind of glad I did. I'm going to tell you about it. So here we go. We're cruising up the road up into the highlands of Scotland during a pouring rain. And
Jeez.
then the lock breaks. All of a
What?
sudden, come around the corner, and there's Loch Ness, dude.
Ah, okay.
Mist on the water. The sky's black. And I'm just like, oh, right, man, I'm alive, right? I'm
Dude,
kind of hungover, but I'm alive. I'm
that's so
good,
cool though.
know?
That's so cool. That lock is so, I mean, would you agree? It's the creepiest body of water I've ever seen.
It's cool, man.
Because you can't see anything. It's just dark and
It's
it's flat.
freaky.
And it's like, what the hell is that? Like, what lives in there?
Well, let me tell you, that's exactly right. That is exactly right. When we came and we parked your quad tower, the sun was starting to break a little bit, but the water was still black, right? The storm clouds were still in the sky, but the sun was trying to break through. So picture like sunlight rays cutting through the black storm, right?
That's gorgeous.
Onto the water. And you started to see the snow up in the mountains in August. And you're just like you're like, wow. Looking around, you're like, I'm in the land of time forgot. This is
Yeah.
crazy.
Did you ever drive?
Crazy.
Did you ever drive there going south back towards London?
Oh no.
Because it's just like in the movies that way. Like, you know, they'll never get the lock right or Bulliskine House or any of that. Like they'll just never. And dude, I could spend an entire podcast on Bulliskine House. We got to do
Well,
this again. I'm telling you.
please.
But it's like it's just like it's so majestic and it's so surreal. It's like you're in an epic David Lean movie and everything is on like almost like slow motion. It's so beautiful and pristine and different.
Well, we were there. My sister went up into the tower at your guard castle, and I was down by the water. I'm looking around. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, why did the innkeeper, why did the pub owner tell me Inverness Castle is blocked off? You can't go up there. Why? Why? Well, it turns out. Well, before I get to that, I'm down there, and then my sister yells from the top of the tower, "You see that?" I said, "What?" I'm looking, and it was a blink of an eye that the water was starting to shift around.
Oh, wow.
And then stop like that. I said, "What?" I was I I was just drawn to the water's edge. I got down on my hands and knees and stuck my head under the water.
What? Are you crazy? Dude.
And I was trying to snap myself out of this, out of this hangover I was in because I wanted to enjoy where I was at.
You're
And when I
killing
stuck
me,
my
dude.
head down into the water and I got the water on my face, I heard, I whipped this when I had long hair, right? I whipped my head back.
Yeah.
I stood up and the clouds were gone.
Come
It
on.
was green,
What?
sunny, warm,
Dude.
snow up on the mountains
In a matter of seconds, it sounds like.
in a matter of seconds.
Dude, you're freaking me out because Bulliskine was weird too. I'm not exaggerating at all.
I'm going to get to that.
Dude. Oh, man. Dude.
I'm going to get to that. Check this out. After we left, I never did find out why Inverness Castle was closed. You know, after being hypnotized by the magic of Loch Ness, my sister and I were leaving. That was our last stop of our tour.
Hmm.
And we wanted to make it because of our Scottish roots. We wanted to make it a memorable stop. So it was Loch Ness, Inverness, Scotland. And 2 weeks later, I open up, remember Hip Parader?
Yeah, man.
Hip Parader Circus. I open up a Hip Parader, and James Patrick Page is right there on the cover of Hit Parader in an interview. The typical dragon suit, you know, um, the typical 70s Page, right? That we
Yep.
all know and love, that we all admire,
Amen.
that we just like the seer, you know. And I was reading the article, and in the article, the interviewer asked him about Boleskine. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So I kept reading. Keep in mind, I'm having a deja vu, right? So I kept reading, kept reading. It turned out that he owned Inverness Castle at the same exact time
Come
that
on.
he owned Boleskine.
I didn't know that. That's badass. Who would have known?
That because of the notables that owned Boleskine previously also owned Inverness Castle.
Huh.
Page bought Boleskine, he also bought Inverness Castle.
Did he buy them at the same time? Do you know?
That I would venture to say he did, but I don't know for sure. It's kind of like unknown documents. And
Yeah.
this like unknown information. But
Yeah.
I just found this listed, you know, in the interview in Hip Parader.
That's so wicked. Like, dude, Boleskine in and of itself is a tour. Like literally, that's, I don't know if many people know this. Like maybe some Zepp heads do like us, but that's where they film part of the sequence of the Hermit in The Song Remains the Same, when Paige is going like this with the little wand, like Luke Skywalker lightsaber thing. And it's right behind his property at Boleskine. You can go literally walk onto the property if you jump the fence and you're stupid like me. And you just
Or
literally
me.
jump over. Oh, I heave-hoed right over that fence, dude. Nothing was stopping me from getting some sightseeing out of that deal. So, you trek along the right side of the house, and there's that cliff area.
Yeah.
And I was right there, and we went right up to the gate. You could see there were like very, very heavy wrought iron gates that were sealing off, I presume, for safety. So people couldn't just walk into the tunnel, God forbid, you walk in the tunnel and something falls on you like Land of the Lost. But that was part of the whole experience. And dude, something about that property was very off. And we'll share that sometime. But that was just really, really weird. And Andy, yeah, I wholly agree. Universal Audio is the bomb, man. It really is. And it's the best stuff I've ever recorded with in my home studio here, my demo home studio. And I wouldn't really want to have anything else in this studio because it is that versatile and it adds that much flavor to the wonderful Class A amps that I was able to pull together and own over the last 7 years. So
I'm just going through some of the comments here, and Randy Rhodes, yeah, he was an absolute genius to say the least. I didn't realize that the comments were stacking up. I'm sorry about that.
That's
Um,
okay. We were so engrossed in our conversation. That was amazing.
well,
Really.
look at Sandra. Oh, wow. He was right. Oh, Sil, greetings. Thank you so much. We'll start. It's my pleasure, Sel. I love talking. I uh, I love interviewing and I love talking, and then to meet somebody that I actually can have a conversation with, and it means something. Thank you, Sel, for making this happen.
Oh wow. Well, thank you, Sel, as well. Yeah. Really, truly.
Guitar heaven. Yep. 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 Yep.
Jimmy,
Yep.
of
Yep.
course. Eddie Van Halen and Dime. All right. So I have to fess up and say, I don't know the richness that is Dimebag Daryl. Like, I think it was probably more, I'm guessing he was more on the metal side of things. And I think he used a flying V type body style, but that's really about it. Like, I go right off the cliff from that point. I need someone to fill me in.
Andy Dion is saying that that he's always wanted to try a theremin.
Yeah, man. They're so
Well,
badass. They're so unpredictable. That's part of
yeah.
the luster of using it, is like you just don't know the field of reference when you're trying to use it and what it's going to do. That's part of the fun of it, I guess, too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's to be able. Tracy
Tracy
Guns is
Guns is
badass.
badass.
Oh,
Dude, I've got
yeah.
another story about Tracy Guns you've got to remind me on a future podcast. A really funny story.
Well, I would love to hear. I'm a big Tracy Guns, tone junkie, you might say.
That's cool.
I don't have a head rush, but I definitely like his approach. Jimmy Page is great on electric, but is an amazingly underrated acoustic player. Yeah.
I wholly agree. Try to learn the Rain song, you know, just that little part that the acoustic plays, or it's obviously Stairway to Heaven. Obviously, just about any song off of Zep 3. Bron Your R, amazing song. I mean, how does he even do this? Like, you got to wonder how you take an instrument and come up with all these whack tunings, and it's pieces of music that will stand a test of time. On an acoustic, it's a Yamaha. I think he uses a D45, if I recall that correctly. You can keep me honest with that. You're a big Pagey head. So, but I believe it was the D45. And
So, what is your favorite? I mean, I kind of broke down. Oh, have you ever seen Phoenix Vanderweeden?
no, who's that?
She's amazing. She's from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and she's a gem. She totally is. I have to agree with you, Mike. Guitars. She's a solo artist, and she's been on the show once, and we had a nice chat. She's a very, very, very lovely young lady, and she's a remarkable talent. She has potential, and I think that after the all this COVID stuff is over with, and we can get back to life again. Um, well, I think you guys are. I think Sonic Octane's going to go somewhere. As a matter of fact, with the way that you think and the way that you feel and the things that you feel, that's going to drive Sonic Octane to greatness.
Well, that's very kind of you. I think at this point, you build a ship, and then the beauty of the ship being built is you've got prevailing winds in the ocean to figure out where you go. And I view that as the band. So my goal early on was really humbly to build something that would kind of serve the masters of our old school that really laid the road for us. Honest to God, like we do our part to understand their approach as artists and understand their approach as songwriters.
Yeah.
And we try to also do our part, obviously, inside of our own styles and our own music writing. But ultimately, you know, when you're a band, the band gets to kind of navigate. So I try to just sit back and see where this all leads. You know, I've got enough talent on the benches, thank God, to help us get somewhere cool. And that's all I ask in this. So
So, I mean, I'm so grateful to have somebody to talk to, you know, to be able to share my experience with, and I think the reason why I brought that up is because I'm looking there in back of you, and I saw, you know, your map of Palestine, and I was just like, well, I've got to tell him about this.
you know, there's so much more to share. Like literally, I don't know, just for fun. So
No,
here's all the maps.
it's
That
all
was from
good.
that particular travel. Here's, by the way, Robert Plant lives right near Michael Caine's house, and this is the tea room where we were literally not even a half a mile from his house in Wales.
Ah,
And you know, I've got the address and the name of the contact there in the back,
wow, look at that.
and you know all the maps. So we've got London and the entire, you know, continent of the United Kingdom. Literally, we have maps mapped out of every location we visited, from Sussex House to Boleskine to Tower House in London,
Oh yes.
Olympic Studios, like everywhere they rehearse. Here's some handwritten maps, and obviously it's on my kind of chicken scratch when I was 21 at the time. And you can kind of see, here's Paige's Boleskine House. That's the map to Boleskine House. Wow,
That's it right there.
that's
Yeah,
so whack. But yeah, we've kept all this stuff. I'd love to go back sometime. I feel like you've got
me
to
too.
kind of do the pilgrimages once in a while.
I need to go back. I need to go back once all this craziness is over with. I feel that once we get through all this craziness, that if I go back at the right exact time, something very magical is going to happen for me.
No
And
doubt.
I feel it. I just feel it when I watch the all the, you know, YouTube shows on Loch Ness, and I see your car tower, and I see the spot where my sister stood, and up in the tower up high, and down by the water, and I see like the water's edge, and I think about what was going on at that exact time while I was there. You know, I'm going back, and I gotta tell you, Paige is such a big influence on me in my playing and the way that I look at things, you know. And he looks at everything in an outer sort of way. You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
Completely.
He looks at things outside of the normal realm, and I gotta tell you, being a show producer and, you know, doing like graphics, and yeah, I do that, and the same thing that theremin, or whether I'm playing or shooting, I looking outside that outer realm of things. That's where you're gonna find. Well, that's, I'll just speak for myself. That's where I'm good. That's where I find those nuggets, those tidbits that put everything together to make a good show, to make a good, you know, good intro video, to make a good outro video, or whatever. You know, it's looking outside the realm of things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Like when you think about that, because a lot of times, and I'm a detail guy, so I get stuck into what strings and how far is it off the pickup? Like I get stuck on things like, do you rake behind the neck, like behind the nut even? Do you tap the neck a little like this, like Eddie used to do in Eruption, or do you rake behind the nut? Because that's just kind of a cool sound, like, but I think sometimes stepping it back, like you've got to really appreciate the overall body of work you're working in towards to understand more what it needs. And that's the thing I think sometimes I have to step myself back. Um, our band also uses a tour bus. It's a Prevost. Her name is Sally. She is badass. She's awesome. And thank God she's getting a little more a community of love around her with Curtain Call Records and Rock Rage Radio. I'm very grateful. By the way, I really have to take the time to tell you how grateful I am to be a part of that family. There are very few people in music that you could ever walk to and that actually care about you as a human being on Mother Earth, and care about your family and care about your growth and mentor you. John Coons has mentored me other than one other person in my corporate life. He's personally invested in me in so many ways. I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am to be with them. And I know that Gigi's with him every day. And I know the love and support that she gives through him shines in my relationship with him. And I just have to tell you, that means a lot to me. And I think that's when one can bring forward their best, whatever that is. We're human, we're fallible like everyone. I write a lot of crazy emails, by the way, because, in corporate life, you live on that stuff. You get 100 to 200 emails a week and you're rifling through like this. And it's like, okay, next thing, like that. And it's just like, you're going like this. And everyone in my band knows my brain is constantly moving and I'm constantly doing something. And the poor receivers, they're probably reading like, I get one of those emails like once a year. Dude, it's like, it's like, why is this like a 10-point task list? Like, I'm going to do one today, and I'm going to do it damn well, but just one, Robert, like that. So I know I drive people a little crazy with that, but somehow Curtain Call accepts me that way too. Like they, I guess if they're not quite accepting me some days, they're probably tolerating and they understand, like I just had that background and I am very, very goal driven. But yeah, it's really special to be a part of that mix. I will tell you honestly, I've personally grown in that some. I feel there's a lot of growth yet to be had and to prove that I can be a worthy contributor, a worthy artist, especially because artist is a big deal to me. That's a level that I think very, very few individuals ever have a walk in life, an opportunity to walk in life. And I don't consider myself an artist, incidentally. Right now, I consider myself a multi-threaded contributor, and maybe one day when I can scale enough of what's going on behind Sonic Octane with my band and through their talents as well. And I'm asking them this year to please bring a little more to the table. And what journey does that look like to them? Like there are a million things to do inside of a band, and there are a million things to do inside of a band that's aspiring to be a business. So I think over time, my aspiration is maybe I can scale this to a point that I can step back and truly serve more of an artist role. It's a little tough too, because it's like your baby. You spend 4 years building that ship we spoke to earlier, and you gotta have to teach yourself a little to step it back. And, people like John are so well and so capable to lead and do things. Sometimes I guess I get a little ahead of myself and I wonder where the line is, like the trust and love is there, which is an amazing foundation relationship wise, but there are many directions one can go. And what's the one that gets you commercially successful, not just placed? And that's what I wonder about this year into next with COVID in a very peculiar time we all are collectively living. So in brief, I think I don't consider myself an artist, but I'm working hopefully towards that end and hopefully God willing, my label continues to see me as value, and they continue to see me as being focused and delivering. That's the key.
Well, you know something, you are surrounded by inspiration. You are surrounded by magic. You are surrounded by the spirit of creativity. And at the end of the day, without that, without without when you go to sleep at night or whatever, when without that and knowing that you achieved that particular day what you sat out to do is the biggest, most wonderful feeling of gratification in the world. And that's the beauty of art. That's the beauty of music. That's that's it right there. I know for myself, but yeah, yeah, and you're surrounded. You have your travels, and you have your instruments, and you have the whole vibe, and you're dialed into it, and that's what makes a lasting impression. That's what makes, you know to have a winning combination. That's what makes a winning combination. And it's like when this, like I was saying, when the stars align, and that moment is when something real good is going to come out of something horribly wrong. That's time on that's horribly wrong. And speaking of, it's the time we're in, the age that, this whole COVID uh, restriction thing. But something, this is going to be a great year. And I myself would, and I'm so sure of that, I say humbly, I say thankfully, that I am privileged and blessed enough to be a part of what's going to happen. I got an email. We'll talk about it off camera, but if you have time. But I got an email that just totally brought everything into focus for me. And
Well, I
and
would be privileged to know, and I have to tell you, I know I made a friend today. Like, we have so much to talk about.
we do,
you know,
really, really, we do. And I would be honored if you would come back and share maybe more intimate details of your trip to Boleskine, and how your experiences all tie in. I'd like to go deeper into that, how all your experiences tie into the mission that you're on right now, the musical mission that you're on. And I would love to actually make a couple shows about that. I think you have well, I see, and I know that you have a lot to share, because there's a lot, as an artist, as a musician, as a performer. There's a lot that is inside of you that needs to come out.
well, that's very kind of you. I hope I can serve that well. You see people, the caliber of guitarists we've shared on today, and it's stifling. Like you just see them do a progression just warming up. Like I saw Tracy Guns at Big Night in Boston. I was driving the support acts tour bus. And he walks up and he just high fives my bus like this right in the front window as he's walking in. And, like an hour later, hour plus, they're sound checking a little. And, you just hear what they do. It's not even that it's a tweed cabinet and it's a head rush. It's what he does. And it's how he does it. It's right down to the pick level and how high are his pickups relative to his string. And he knows it. He knows it better than probably just anything in his life, just about. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to be that close to the human aspect of music. The real deal is what I like to refer to it as. I was seeing a band under Curtain Call's label last March, a good buddy of mine, Ernesto Paez from Modern Mimes. And, I was right up close with him in Memphis watching him play. And he had a hell of a fever that day. And he poured everything he had into it. It was absolutely noble. It was beautiful. It was showing a level of dedication few do in their regular jobs, and he's just shredding and he's, doing backup vocal and he's putting it all in. And you see people like that and you go, what do we possibly have to offer when you get to that level and you're doing what you do well and you're in your element? So that's the thing I ask myself. I'm a little superstitious really to put a lot of guitar in on my project right now because I think there's a lot of good stuff happening around it. So I want to be careful to, things have their time and place. I wholly agree with you on that point.
Well, you had the experience to listen and to really dial in and feel what Tracy Guns was doing, and that's a remarkable moment in itself, really. Check this out. Sandra says, "Great show today." Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you. Dimebag is my goat. Huge Pantera right here. Okay.
Dean Washburn, Dimes guitarist, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Phoenix is better than eBay.
Fight me. Okay, are we talking about this, Phoenix?
Oh, yes. Let's talk about that.
This is probably easier to see. I don't know. Let's see. It's probably come out a little easier.
There you go. So tell the good folks, where can they find the music of Sonic Octane?
Well, I think my label would rightly tell me to plug The Orchard, right? We're on all major platforms. So really, I want to start with that. I want to really, I haven't met our contacts. Our friends at The Orchard have done something marvelous for us. They've put us in a place of opportunity we've never been in our lives. So I want to start there and thank The Orchard and thank all of the platforms around The Orchard that has placed our content. I also wanted to thank John and Gigi at Curtain Call Records because, frankly, placing an artist these days, you get some. I heard at a convention one time, I believe that was the ASCAP convention there at the Lowe's Hotel in LA, that there's some 30,000 releases on digital platforms a day worldwide. So, if you just think about that one thing, and that's like such a scintilla of the aspect of what Curtain Call manages collectively daily, you begin to understand what they do a little tiny bit. And what I call, from a corporate background, when I used to be in corporate life, I considered the music industry a little bit of a managed chaos some days. So, think about it. It's 30,000 tunes dropping worldwide. How does an artist even begin to get any type of following or any type of understanding of what we do? So I really give a lot of credit to the team of Curtain Call Records that collectively brings that forward on behalf of the artists, and in my case, a contributing, aspiring artist. I think the other piece here is check out sonicoctane.com. We've got lots of content out there. We've got a lot of candid photos. We've traveled all over the country. We've gone well over 30,000 miles, and we've traveled. We're very tight in Las Vegas. We were friends with Quiet Riot's Paul Sortino. He's a good friend of ours. We also have Rusty Myers in town, who's in Ocean's 11. He's a buddy of ours. We've got Christina Shaw, who's one of the top performers for impersonations under Legends in Concert. We have also got her husband. By the way, we knew them back when they were a shiny, beautiful couple, and now they're married. So Sean William, who was Cirque du Soleil. And so we've got lots of friends in Vegas. We've got lots of friends in New York and powerhouses, I might add. So starting at the tippy top of that deck, it's Donna Drake, who's a TV show host. Lou Vaccarelli, who's the former vice president of sales and sales distribution for RCA Records. We also have Lou Playa, who's a friend of ours that occasionally will politely knock on his door when it seems like it might be the right time, hopefully. And it'll be one of those emails, like one of these. Hey, these are our bragging points. Can we play a fest, please? So, stuff like that. So we're building community, in other words, and that's part of the reason I'm coming to Hollywood, to Los Angeles in 2 days, is I am going to meet with a couple of key people to kind of bring in more of the Phoenix, more of the rising platform. Like John Coons at Rock Rage Radio points out to me very aptly and correctly, we're in an unprecedented time, but those that are kind of planting the seeds may reap some reward in some way, in some form, humbly downstream when things open up. So that's part of why I'm going. And I think I always try to put my friendship ahead of business. So I'm learning this too, by the way, which is sometimes you just got to be business in music. Hey, great relationships. What do we get out of it, right? And so I'm kind of asking that around my band a little too, and they're plugging in where they can, and that's awesome. And so that's it. At the end of the day, I think, where do you go to find Sonic Octane? Now you're going to Roku, and now you're going to Amazon Prime, but only for the team behind us. It's not us. We're just pushing emails and knocking on doors and trying to travel a bit to keep the network together. It's a hell of a task. I'll say I get the brunt of that. So my band's pretty cool. They love to be on the tour bus and travel and plug in, and that's awesome. And they're real artists, they're real talented. And I'm very humbled to have them. But a lot of the kind of, hey, let's go to New York and shake a paw and see if we can do a production piece, or let's get a streaming deal in place. That stuff tends to fall on me at the moment. And, that takes a little bit of effort there sometimes but end of the day, it's a good ride. And I think planting those seeds is a good time to do it. And I'm really grateful to be on your show to do that with you.
Well, thank you. I'm honored that you're here. And I too feel as I made a friend, and I'm very grateful. I'm very humbled. I'm more of an introvert. I used to be a big extrovert growing up, but I have plenty of friends, and you'll always find me at the local kegger in the band, and happy guy, and just being Will, but as the years have gone by, I've discovered this whole other side of my life that it was a mystery to me for a long time. And when I unlocked and when I dialed into that, I'm more of an introvert now. I don't really have a lot of friends, so that's why I'm very grateful that you're here. And
dude, you've got a friend for life. I'll give you my cell. You call me anytime.
Likewise.
And I was thinking I'm bringing some of these tchotchkes with me as a housewarming gift to you. Because look, what do we have right now? We got phones, we got video, we have very little in the way of connections and honoring one another. So I think I may bring a tchotchke or two from the studio to honor your home and to thank you for the privilege of being with you and knowing that Sonic Octane has a voice in California.
Well, Sonic Octane does have a voice, and I am I'm thankful to be able to help facilitate that. I'm grateful. I'm humble. I'm very humbled. I've seen a lot in my life, and I'm very humbled. I don't take anything lightly. I know, and I know better, and I'm thankful for your kindness. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I'm dying to know. Tell me your journey starting to play guitar.
Guitar, Quiet Riot, Motley Crue, Wolfgang, The Babies, Swan, Wolf and Riss Miller's Country Club in Reseda. Guitar player, the guitarist side of the stage, and all the bands that I mentioned, standing up there, standing up there about like this, here I am like 5 foot, 5 1/4, knee high to a grasshopper, and they're up on stage, and the guitarist is standing right in front of me, staring down at me, just locked in on me. The Mick Mars, the Randy Rhodes, the Steve Lynches, the these monsters, the Wally Stocktons, and every time that I went to the country club with my sister, I always gravitate to the guitarist stage. I don't know why. I go anywhere and I gravitate to the guitarist stage. So, long story short, a few years went by. Then this guy living in the neighborhood that I grew up in, Los Angeles, had a Black Beauty, Gibson Les Paul Black Beauty Custom. So he's sitting out in his porch and he's playing it, and I'm walking by and I stop and I looked at him, and he's playing and playing. He told me, "Come in, come on over, come inside the gate." I remember going inside his gate, and just sat down on the porch, and I was just mesmerized by this black thing on his lap, and I recognized it. Hey, I saw Mick Mars play that. This is the guitar that Mick Mars played, and that's when it started. That is definitely when it started. That's definitely when it started. Then I started to, a few more years went by. Well, we have lost. No, there he is. Ha ha ha. Welcome back. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? The audio. My guest will be back. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed this show. There he is. Hello. Check.
Yes, better.
So that's the nut and bolts of it, I think. And then I got my first Marshall.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Time out. We got to go super slow in this part.
2203.
Dude.
$450. A little
Damn.
shop in North Hollywood. A little mom and pop shop. Gave it to at the time a real good friend of mine. His name's John Gaudesi. He runs the custom shop at Schechter.
Wow. Dude,
And,
that's badass.
and he did some work on the Marshall for me. And when he got done with it and he handed it back to me, and I have to say thank you to John Gaudesi, and also a special thank you to Curtain Call Promotions, and also a special thank you to the Essential Guitarist page on Facebook, in which I'm a moderator for. Bill Eagleson, who's an awesome, awesome fella, and he shares my show. So I want to give a special thank you and a special shout out to the Essential Guitarist group on Facebook. I also want to give a special shout out to El Porto Records and for the future of our new partnership.
Wow.
I'm very excited for. I'm very, 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 very excited about. And so I will, let's see, did I cover everything? Oh, and also I would like to give a special shout out to Carl Jaw, who is a longtime friend of mine from the Pasadena days and growing up around Pasadena, California, in during the whole Van Halen era, and right after that. And I think that's about it. Plus, I want to give a special shout out to my wife, Cindy, and I want to give a special shout out to Gibson, to Dean, to Positive Grid for making my Spark amp, to Boss for making my Katana 50, to Presonus. I love your gear, Presonus. I love to have somebody from Presonus on the show someday.
I would love to learn if they may ever have like 5 minutes. I learn things relatively quick, but I would love to learn audio bend. That's the one skill in that mix. I go,
It's an amazing adventure. It's an amazing adventure. And so that's basically how my whole journey, in guitar started. So I'm in my 20s and I'm going South Pasadena, or where I grew up, around the LA, South Pasadena area in Hollywood. And I'm jamming with two brothers from Holland, and I'm just like trying to figure out how to play rhythm guitar. Like, okay, cool. And that's how I cut my chops. That's how I cut my teeth. And then I went and managed to keep playing and playing and playing into the 90s with my band Soul Machine. And that was the age of the rack gear. That's like the big racks, the big rolling refrigerator racks, the little tent space moving, rollable racks, the Gibson Les Paul, white Gibson Les Paul custom made. And then I stepped away from music for a while. I needed to find myself again. And it took about 15 years, but it happened. So now I'm back, and now everything's different, and I have a whole new clarity. I have a whole new clarity of what I need to be doing with the time that I have left. And I've always said the reason why I want to start Guitar Streaming 352, I wanted to start hanging with the dreamer. It's because I want to be like the mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex or Nessie and leave deep footprints
Wow.
when I'm gone so that people can look at these deep footprints and go, that's Will Star right there. He shook the world. And I want to be remembered for this show. I want to be remembered for being able to laugh and being able to talk and to enjoy other people's company and them enjoy mine. I want to be remembered. I want to be remembered for that kind of stuff. I want to be remembered for the guitars. Yeah, the 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 geeky guitarist that loves Friedman pedals,
Yeah.
And if you don't mind,
I don't mind at all. Bring it on, man.
check this out.
Oh, dude.
This right here is the ultimate.
I would
This
love to see what that does, man. Where do you plug that in? Like, what do you use with it and why? Damn, in out. That's simple, huh?
just like that guitar right here, out to your amp.
Dang.
And I was having a talk with another person a long time ago, and they always told me, "Do this, Will. You'll thank me later." I said, "Cool. Okay, what's that?"
But do you normally like take that advice? Like I don't. When someone tells me that, I'm always very superstitious. By the way, on Twitter, someone just liked my post about Sally, our tour bus. That was kind of funny. Just popped up. But do you ever take the advice? Do you go to the water cooler and someone tells you something like, do this and you'll never, live it down. You'll love it forever. Like I'm
Not
always
everything,
cynical.
no, not everything. But because I grew up pretty much a rock and roll purist, you know, and when I showed this pedal, max the volume, dime the volume, turn the gain down to about 9 o'clock.
Yep.
Let it go. Let it flow.
Wow.
Something that's simple, you know. And the I was saying that I want to give a big shout out to Boss. Well, I highly recommend you as a guitarist, you got to try this out.
Check it, man. What is that? Is that an EQ?
That's a new Q, the new EQ 200 by Boss.
No kidding.
I have the delay, I have the EQ, I don't have the modulator, and I don't have the distortion, but I do have the EQ and the delay.
I'm
This
pretty
thing,
impressed. Like that looks like it's, what is it, 12 band or something?
yeah.
That's pretty badass to have that much control. Because guitar only takes so much frequency anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool to be able to shape it like that.
And then you have 4 spots for 4 of your own separate EQs.
Oh, wow. That is cool. And that rifles through your set list in a way you can customize it for lead or whatevs.
And here's the ins and the outs.
Is it true bypass? Like, can you use it through and it doesn't color your sound?
Yeah, right here.
Man.
On, off. It's true bypass. What's cool is that you can take one of these cues and run it to the front of your rig, and then through the outs right here, go to preset 2, and you can run the other side out to your effects loop and have a second cue going.
Dude, that's totally, who came up with this? That's so cool.
Yoshi Yakagami.
Is that right? You're like me, dude. I'm so glad. I have to write Sel a note and thank her because I finally found someone that is wired like me, right? Like, do you know how lame it is when you learn guitar and you go, wow, look at that custom Les Paul, and you drop like $4,000 on the thing? Hang on, I'll go grab it. So this is the Alex Lifeson Access. It's custom.
Oh, look at that.
But it's got these two jacks on the bottom here, right? The Life of Sound, Alex refers to it as in Gibson. They spent a couple of years in designing this guitar. And it's got the piezo pickup built into the tremolo. But at the end of the day, if I had that EQ, I could have totally set a sound profile for a single instrument with a single jack and spent $2,000 or less. I'm like, dude, who comes up with this cool stuff? It's badass.
Yoshi Boss.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, I've asked Yoshi to come on a couple of times because I wanted to share my my love for Boss, and then I'd love to have somebody from Positive Grid on so I could tell them how much I love my Positive Grid Spark and the app on my tablet. but yeah, it Guitar Gear is like, it's a recipe. It's a recipe. It's just a little bit here. Put the gain on the Friedman pedal on 9. Crank that master, just a little salt, and then maybe a whole lot of pepper, or whatever the case may be. It's all a recipe. And Eddie, EVH, I gotta just say this. I since I grew up in the Pasadena area, my mom, when she was working, she worked at San Gabriel Valley Medical Center. One of the doctors that she worked with was Dr. Nathan Roth.
Get out.
David Lee Roth's father.
Dude, no wonder he was an ambulance chaser for part of his career. I remember in an interview, he was sharing that. Now that makes perfect sense.
She took me to a new children's wing at San Gabriel Valley Medical Center, right? The wing wasn't open yet, but it was just being built.
Yeah.
And she walked me down the hall, and we stopped. And she goes, look at that plaque on the wall. I'm reading it. This children's wing was donated by Edward Van Halen, Alex Van Halen, Michael Anthony, and David Lee Roth. I'm looking at that, and that's the first time that I understood exactly the kind of people that they are. Beautiful, nice, respectable, kind, loving, and they have a heart for disadvantaged kids. See, I understand, because my dad died when I was just 13.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear.
Made me the man I am today.
Are you involved with any charities in Pasadena, like deeply, meaningfully?
No, I went to Pasadena last weekend with my wife and with my mom. I took my 85-year-old mom lives with me, and I took her, and we went to the corner of Allen and Villa where the monument, like all the remembrance was for Edward, was laid out. So I wanted to get some pictures of everything and then turn it into a video and share my sentiments and put it on my social media, right? Because I want Wolfgang, his son, to see it, and I want his wife Janie to see it, and I want Alex, Reverend Al, to see it. And when we went, the rain had washed everything away.
Oh man.
The only thing that was left is go to my photos here real quick.
Cool.
Let's see, there's the drive through South Pasadena. And here we go. Look at, oh, let's see. Well, when you, in this photo, written like this, it says Van Halen.
Oh.
This is where, right there.
Yep.
That's Eddie and Alex drew that in wet cement.
Wow.
Because they just lived right up the street.
Wow.
And there, I don't know how pictures. Right here, this crack in the sidewalk. Well, it's bright. I'll have to send these to you.
For sure, I would love to see that.
You can have them, and
Wow.
and so what I thought was typical Will Star dreamer harebrained idea to take a candle. Everything's been washed away, and there's people on the sidewalk, like standing on the street corner, and they're watching me. What's this guy doing? I had a candle. Yeah, I'm standing there all masked up and everything. I had a candle and I lit it, and I put it right there, right by where they had their name on the curb, where they carved their name in wet cement when they were kids.
Gosh.
And I put the candle right there, and I backed up a little bit, and I turned around and I looked. I said, "Make this live again." And I walked away. It was the most special moment in my life. My hope is that remembrance is going to get built back up again.
Man.
From my candle. And if that happens, I'm going to know that it was my candle that did it. Well, that and the outer realm of inspiration.
You know, that's beautiful, man. That's like a testimony, and it was done reverently, and it was done tastefully. It was done thoughtfully. You know, the Van Halen brothers, there's no better music that comes out of brothers, and now we're back to SDP. Right? Come on, man. It just went full circle. Those guys, when they're playing, their choreography, their image, their performance. Believe me when I tell you, I take an exceptional note of that because of my relationship and my family, you know, and I look at that and I marvel at it. I love it. I honor and celebrate it because I understand some of the dynamic that goes into that relationship, into that collaboration and learning, into the light competitive nuances of being brothers. You know, like there's always going to be a little bit of that shell game in some way, right? And even subtle at our age, it's going to be there. It's cute, it's endearing, and it's a real thing. And I see the DeLeo brothers, and my God, Robert, he's one of the few bassists that is that abundantly, supremely consistent in his playing, and it's a marvel. Like I've never heard him even subtly flub once, and I've seen them perform. I want to tell you, at least a dozen times now, and I've been right up on that stage just like you. I'm glued to everything going on, because as musicians, we cue into things like that. We want to know, if they're having a night where their feedback's a little different, or if the tone's different in some way, because it's a new environment. You want to know all about it, and I think for the Van Halen brothers, I had a privilege to meet them once in Washington, D.C. It was at a special ceremony to honor Eddie Van Halen for being an American entrepreneur. So it was held at the Smithsonian and sponsored by Zocalo Public Square.
That's amazing.
It really was, because it was that intimate. It was not a stage setting. It was not a venue or a meet and greet. It was an actual intimate social setting. And he could not have been more gracious. I remember I almost pulled an all-nighter working and took a red-eye flight to get into town and met a friend who was in one of my former bands. And my friend goes, "Hey, are you sure you want to take me? And not just like your brother, someone who's a guitarist." I'm like, "Dude, you're my bandmate. We're going, man." So, and yeah. So we're waiting in line. We're like, shit, like we hope we'll even meet the guy. Like it's so packed, and it's like, what are the odds? Really? He's probably going to be behind some curtain on a stage and he's going to go the hell home, right? Like it's DC on top of that. It's not his home turf. So we get into the auditorium that steadily fills in. We're in the first 4 rows. And so Alex Van Halen and his wife, there's Wolfie, like they're all there. Eddie Van Halen's family on that side. And we're just sitting like 2 rows back going, I could literally just lean over and tap their shoulder and be like, "Hey, it's me." Yeah. But no, you don't do that, right? You're just kind of like tame and just watching intently and listening as much as you can. And then Eddie eventually was invited on stage. There was a very talented moderator that started things off and went through. Yeah, it was a very deep exploration on his innovation. Ultimately, we met him afterwards, and I think we had nearly 10 minutes with him. So it was really something. And brothers in music, it doesn't get any more rich than that, man.
I have such there's another story, but I'll save that for just out of respect. I'll save that for when I'm off camera. But check this out. Essential guitarist. Sorry for your loss. Oh, Sandra. Oh, bless you, Sandra. Thank you. Growing up was a trip, Sandra. Growing up was a real trip. I had to find my way with everything. Killer Alex signature Les Paul, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Marcy Douglas is here. Hi, Will. Marcy saying I agree. And Essential Guitarist saying, yeah. So let's talk about that Alex Lifeson Les Paul there. So what's that finish called?
As far as I know, it's a clear coat, and it's got a 10 top. So the custom in Alex's line are all 10 tops. This was the first issue, Alex Lifeson Access. So they had 2. They had a special 30th edition shortly after. This one was released approximately a year to 2 years later. And I was kind of replanning myself in my corporate job because the recession kind of hit home pretty hard. We had a hurricane that summer, and I remember I was looking for my next thing, and lo and behold, there was a position in the middle of nowhere, Colorado. I'm thinking, man, I live like just outside of Philly. That's all I know. Like my entire career was planted there. I'd been promoted quite a bit at Verizon at the time. And so I decided if I'm going to have to move without my family, there are two things I got to do to keep myself kind of on a track to be fulfilled a little bit. And one was to buy the guitar. So I moved to the state with an air mattress because I didn't want to like buy a bed. I wanted to buy a freaking guitar that I'd love, you know? And the second thing I did is I went out and adopted a dog. And it was the love of my life. This dog, it will always be a treasure to me in many ways. And that's how I moved to the great state of Colorado. It took about, I'm estimating this, about 8 months to be able to afford to buy amps and stuff like that. Cause, you know, there's a lot of cost to relocate. And so I had a friend of mine named Rod Tanaka, and he just called me 2 days ago. I'm so grateful to hear his voice again, because he's the guy that befriended me and started taking me all over the state looking at pawn shops. He knew the pawn shops that had all the gear, dude. It wasn't just like a hit or miss. They were like gold mines, every one of them. So, you know, EV RE20s, TLM 102, 103s, Neumann mics, just whatever. He knew where everything was. He'd been doing this for years, pack ratting. And so he taught me the ropes, and eventually I bought an amp, and eventually I started writing. And that's what led me into music again. And to your point earlier, I used to also be one that took a hiatus in music for about nearly 15 years. And the clarity you come back with from those journeys is absolutely surreal, because you're recommitted, you're refocused, you're revitalized in that realm of life. Speaking of that outer circle. And I really relate to what you said. I swear, like, we're going to be such good friends. There's so
beautiful,
much, you know, and that's just what it is, you know. And guitar, to me, it's like, I don't know, like it was a new journey. So like playing bass, I played bass quite a while, and I wanted to write. So it was very important to me to learn the instrument as best that I could. And I think there's always a whole lot more to know in it, obviously, because it's a very complex instrument. It's very subtle. I like to say that the wood kind of speaks to me. It sounds a little loopy, but I really feel that way. When you pick up an instrument that you have hand selected to own and to take on a journey, you've got to hear it. You know, you've got to know what it's vibing to you. Just like the tour bus, you know, like we have this Prevost tour bus that's a rolling artifact of true American history. It was owned by Julia Butterfly Hill.
Wow.
And it's got redwood from the redwood forest where she lived in that tree for 27 months of her life. And so, you know, I'm not a hippie. I'm not super liberal, but I will say that I think I want to honor that journey. I want to be a good custodian to that legacy.
Absolutely.
And same thing with the Axis. I think that's no different in that sense. Like you gotta show a little love and respect to the true artist that invested in his art to bring it to the world, you know. So
that's a beautiful, I remember the first time those came out, I was just absolutely blown away.
Chambered back,
amazing,
push pull,
yeah,
pickups that are stacked. It's just a piece of art. And you know, one of the songs that my band wrote, it's a beautiful song. It's a testament to cancer victims. It's called Heaven Calling. And this particular guitar has a piezo pickup, a very glassy kind of feel on the clean channel with a Hughes and Kettner with a triamp. And it just was a perfect pairing for that particular song. So, yeah.
Well, the Hughes and Kettner triamp.
Yeah.
That guitar right there.
Yeah.
That's literally exactly, take out the chorus, take out the delay, take out the reverb, and the pitch transforming, plug straight in from that guitar into a Hughes and Kettner triad.
So
you will have the sequential Alex Lifeson tone, man.
Yeah, and I can't pretend that I'm Alex Lifeson by a long stretch. That man is so brazen on his guitar. He's so rustic in his leads, some of the leads that he does. You know, when I think of like and again, I'm coming from a former bassist point of view, so it's very, very different perspective. But Spirit of the Radio, like what he does with his picking alone, and he's digging into that, like right almost on the top of the pickup, it feels, you know, and it's like, fuck. But in tribute to Alex Lifeson, and we'll have to do this in a whole nother series because I'm just going to show it in brief. But
Without doubt.
That Access was part of it, and this is his Triumph. It's a signature edition signed.
That's the one right there.
Yeah. So it's one of 500 they made.
Beautiful.
And, you know, donation went to UNICEF as part of that deal, which is awesome.
Yes.
And let's see, this wireless rack, I have a Audio Technica R5200, and that is also part of Alex's live rig. If you ever know Audio Technica gear, and I've got a couple transceivers that came with it. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
All part of the journey, man.
It is. It really is. Well, if you'll hang out for a few, I'm just gonna say a couple other things to the good folks, the dreamers in the chat, and I just want to say thank you, everybody. Thank you for showing up today. And Marcy's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks.
Oh, cool.
I'm looking forward to that. Marcy, are you ready? It's going to be great. I promise. You'll have a good time. Marcy says, I agree. Essential guitarist. Yep. Yep. Bill. Wow. Well, guys, it's about that time of the day. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in today. And don't forget to come back this Saturday coming up. What day is it? It's Tuesday today. Brain freeze. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, in 4 days. Hey, I can still count. That's pretty good. In 4 days, I will have on the show No Seal. And No Seal is a very, very awesome band from Puerto Rico. I would like to invite everybody to come back. It's already up on social media, but it was going to be tomorrow, so I moved it to Saturday. And thank you, everybody. Thank you to my awesome guests, Sonic Octane. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Will.
So very much.
We look forward to keeping in touch. You've just made a new friend in me, amigo.
No, likewise, I'm sure. And for all the people in the chat, check out all the Sonic Octane's links down in the description box below. Check out all the support links. You guys are awesome. Support. This thing, let's all get through this thing together, everybody. Together, we can stand and we can help each other. We can love each other, and we can make it through this lousy time that we're in right now. Because that, like Davy Vane said one time, the grass is always greener on the other side. When Vane released that song, and I heard that, I know exactly what he's talking about. Let's stick together, everybody.
Rock and roll, man. Woo!
Check out Sonic Octane. Check out all their links. Support. See everybody next Saturday.